Here we go then, one final time for the drivers to qualify for the main series as we ready ourselves to do the double at the Sachsenring. 5 drivers to join the 15 already qualified to create our full grid. It's time for the final qualifier for the ADAC GT Masters Esports Championship. Lewis McGlade alongside me as always, Rob Wiesenmüller. Rob, great venue for us to be at today. This one might throw a bit of a spanner in the works and maybe come out with a few surprise qualifiers.
Hello everyone, hello Lewis. Yes, we've got the double today. Double Sachsenring here. Very special round of the GT Masters Esports Championship and of course the full grid. Very interesting race coming up as we are already in qualifying a bit early today, in fact. So yeah, Sachsenring, Lewis, you've ever raced here before?
I actually don't think I have. Not online anyway. The laps that I've done offline though, excellent circuit to drive. A lot of very tricky corners. Tyre wear is going to be pretty tricky around here. Obviously a little bit of a lean on the front right tyre all the way around the back end of the circuit. There you can see the drivers who have already qualified. It took Jack Keighley 3 attempts but finally got there in the end. Of course, Erhan Yovsky alongside that, Tim Yarshall, Florian Haas and Nessel Garcia. The qualifiers from the previous one and the 10 before it created some excellent racing over the this pre-season test, as it were, thus far. There you've got the qualifiers. There's a bit of a theme today, Rob, isn't there?
Yeah, last time we had no BMW when it ran on 0 kilos of weight. This time it's on 22 kilos, heaviest car on the grid, and almost everyone has picked it. So yeah, we can promise BMW did not pay us for that. It's just that this car suits so perfectly to the East German circuit that basically all of the drivers decided to run with the car, with a few exceptions. So let's go into the qualifying session here and let's go on board with the first man out on track, with this driver here, Tim Heinemann.
Yeah, quality driver coming through turn 1. We know how good Tim Heinemann is. Of course, this is the thing. You'd expect this 4th qualifier to not really have too many key drivers in it, but obviously Tim Heinemann saying, nah, I'll be a part of it. Did some decent work in the last one, but wasn't maybe the best round. Unfortunately did not qualify. Thus he is here today and has that one final attempt. We see him heading through Sternquell now and then back down the hill. Such a fantastic section of corners through this extremely fast left-hander. This next one here is an annoying corner, but it is actually my favourite corner on the circuit. Turn 9, a little dab of the brakes and then flipping back up the hill, using the curve on the inside just to get it hooked in a little bit. Completely blind through this section of the circuit. Very, very tricky to keep the car balanced. Such a high-speed section, Rob.
Yeah, and Heinemann's driving very clean here. We've seen a lot of drivers in practice cut the grass on the inside of the left-hander there, of one of the many left-handers on the circuit. This corner is tricky because the apex, you can't really see it. Running out a little bit here on the exit. Coming down to the final corner and up to the start-finish straight. Tim Heinemann, first one to set a time lap.
A bit of a wiggle there out of the final corner, crosses the line to set the first time of the day, and we'll see if that one hangs on. Not for very long. Instantly, Julien Kunze, Alexander Vermont, Isaac Gillison also going quicker. Tim Heinemann, one of 3 Mercedes in the event. Eamon Murphy being one of the other ones, and Luciano Badin in the other. Every single one of the other ones, all 27 other cars, are in a BMW.
Yes, indeed, and Alex Vermont, also one of the drivers who hasn't qualified yet, and it's great to see him here, sitting on the provisional pole position, the Frenchman. Super quick driver. Looking quite promising here. You can see him for AAA Esports. And in the background, P2 Kirill Antonov. That's a bit of a surprise, but a surprise that some drivers already expected, because the Russian was looking very, very, very fast on the practice server coming into the event.
Yeah, there's a few drivers on this grid that I think could be in a good spot. Maybe some less surprising. Of course, we've got some strong drivers on the grid. Obviously, we spoke about Tim Heinemann. You've got Julien Kunze. You've got Emery Chihan, top of the qualifier, I believe. I re-watched a little bit of the first round. I also did some research earlier today. Had a good start to the first round in a qualifying format. In that very first round, unfortunately, it lasted 2 corners and then was spun to the back of the grid. Hopefully today is a bit of redemption. Unfortunately down in 13th position at the moment in the early part of this qualifying session, maybe not going his way. So that's another one that could be a potential driver to qualify. Gergo Baudi as well on the grid. Christopher Hogfeld was second, if I recall correctly, in that qualifier as well.
Yeah, lots of surprises there. Leon Rudinger is another one. So just to walk you through a little bit through the BMWs, virtual drivers by TX3, they're all running BMW. They've got like 6 or 7 drivers on the grid, and they all run the white and black livery, as well as the Russian team, the Lada Esports team from Antonov. We've got Roman, Cihan, and Gergobaldi in the blue, red, and white car here. Roman with the black mirrors, Baldi actually in the car with the white mirrors. And then we've also got the blue cars spotted this time by Mark Gassner, by Gillison, and by Julian Kunze, maybe some of the favorites. And Mark Gassner, a driver who's experienced races in the real GT Masters Championship, sitting pretty here in 5th position at the moment. He's also one of the guys who came pretty close to qualifying before.
Yeah, I get the feeling, Rob, that it might be a little bit tricky to to pick apart these drivers. We see Eamon Murphy had a good run in the last race of the qualifiers last time out. Looked like a potential driver that we might look at. Unfortunately, didn't quite end in the way, but the first race didn't go his way either. So I don't think it was too much of a sour grape on that one. Comes here though, maybe with a little bit of a badge of a question mark on his head as to whether he can pull it off here. Of course, the difference this time out is that we go to the same circuit twice, which may play in the favour of some drivers. Eamon Murphy towards the line in the Mercedes and goes P6. Very good.
Yeah, Murphy has been looking pretty confident in this car as he just runs wide here. And it's his lap. Antonov on a good lap. I think Cihan is purple at the moment, so let's go with him.
Yeah, running down the hill and then flicking it through that left-hander back up. The only other time that I recall racing this track outside of RaceRoom, but that corner had a monster curve on the inside, and it was not an enjoyable corner. On here, though, nice and flat on the inside, you can take quite a bit of it. Loses a little time in the second sector, but not too much. Should be a good time for Emre Cihan. Currently got a bit of work in 22nd position to do to catch up to the Frenchman of Alexander Ramon, who's currently on that pole position by a couple of hundredths of a second. Comes through that final corner. Does Emre Cihan up towards the line? The line obviously a little bit later. You'd normally expect to do that there, but a little bit after that as he heads the straightest line. And there we go. Wow, good final sector for Emre Cihan, and up onto provisional pole position. Tim Heinemann says no thank you to that. By 0.04 of a second, he deposes the Turk almost immediately.
And all these BMW drivers, they will be thinking now that they really make the right choice here.
Yeah, exactly.
But it's interesting, the BMW as a car, you drive it really differently to the other cars. It's a lot more stable, it doesn't slide at all basically. It's kind of easy to drive, but it's really having problems out of the slow corners. And sometimes you get a little bit of wheel spin even on the inside, so it's an interesting car to drive for sure. And we can see completely different drivers at the front here. Well, Cihan we've seen before, and Roman in the past seasons, but Antonov, Rüdinger, Pawlowski, Barriere and Ciara in the top 10. These are certainly some surprises, especially if you look at the names that are still out of the top 10, like Gassner, or like Pinchos I would have said, but he just goes into the top 10.
Indeed, we watch Page towards the line, currently in 18th position. Should be able to move himself up towards the top 10. Nope, no improvement in position. Stays 19th. It's so crucial for those drivers who haven't really taken hold of the previous few rounds that we've had. It's so important to fix that and to rectify that today for the likes of Heinemann, for Baldi, especially Baldi's been in this as far as I mean, he's been in all 3 of the previous qualifiers. We watch Pawlowski towards the line and goes into the top 5. The moment for BMW, but yeah, I think Gergobaldi's been in the qualifiers, the previous 3 attempts. Hasn't got through though, and is still here.
Yeah. That's certainly one of the biggest surprises, Heinemann being the other one. I guess Roman is also kind of a surprise after a great last season. But the cards are completely reshuffled here. And someone like Tomasz Mironovic from Sim Racing Champions could set a surprise. That's not even an improvement, that's kind of a shock.
It's so tight on that grid. It is a very short circuit, this one. But you can see the gaps between the field very, very close, showing how important it is to nail all of those sectors. We watch Kirill Antonov, who's purple in the second sector, did a decent first, comes up towards the final corner, but I think it's that final sector where Tim Heinemann's really nailed it.
And it's also the final corner where the Mercedes just has an advantage over the BMW because it can't get the power down. Antonov up to P3, great lap. And he's so close to Heinemann there, but it could be a time that's hard to beat from Tim.
The thing is, with those Mercedes being strong in that final corner, the run down towards turn 1 is probably one of the best overtaking opportunities on the circuit, or at least through that first sector anyway, where it's quite tight, quite twisty, which is where it should really play a bit more into the Mercedes anyway. So for some of these drivers, racing that Mercedes, I think it could be quite hard work trying to get by one of those Mercs, or trying to keep one behind. Julian Kunze down in 19th place at the moment for Euronics Gaming. That is easy to say it, not good enough at the moment for the German driver.
But he was another one where I was so surprised that he took the BMW in this race. I expected him to finally go with the Mercedes, the car that he probably likes the most out of all of them, but he decided against it. And now, once again, he's not really in a comfortable position at this stage of the race. Adam Pinches. That was a big slide out of the last corner. Yeah. Abandons the lap. Here we've got an interesting driver. Exactly the same car. It's Vincent Jarschel. And if you know the name Jarschel, that's because his brother Tim qualified in the last shootout.
Yeah, I think it's his older brother, isn't it? Is Vincent Jarschel, who said before the broadcast. Tim Jarschel, definitely a strong prospect on RaceRoom. These days, has shown some great speed, maybe a little aggressive at times, but shows some incredible talent. Now his brother on the scene as well, showing that he is no slouch.
Let's check with Högfeld. That's a big gap in the second sector. Could be pole. It's P3 for Christopher.
Somehow manages to slot a gap of 1,000th slower than Gino. And only 5 thousandths slower than Tim Heinemann. Tiny margins at the top, a 118.826. An 822 would have been pole. So it's rather tight at the top end, and a whopping 1/100th back to Kirill Antonov. Those kind of margins, you end up kicking yourself because you know that there's time on that lap. I mean, there might not be a 10th, but there's definitely 5 thousandths somewhere.
That's true, but it has to be said, that's a killer lap from Tim Heinemann here in qualifying conditions with the weight on the car as well. Yes, it might be hard to beat. Let's see with Kirill Antonov. And also apologies if we have a little bit of streaming problems here. So of course, we are not unaffected by the massive usage of the internet at the moment, and hoping to put the best show possible for you. You can hear it. You can hear how Antonov's car is struggling out of the corner. The 1 week spot for the BMW.
Oof. Close but no cigar for Kirill Antonov. Yeah, I think it's a pretty common thing at the moment. Obviously, everyone's stuck at home, either on lockdown or otherwise. Everyone's using the internet, and the internet's going, "Oh, I'm not built for this." So apologies on that side, but we are doing the best thing that we can, and bringing you some great racing is what we aim to do. And thus far, I think we could be on for an absolute barnstorming race here. Gergo Baldi currently purple in the second sector, a decent first one. We know how good that Merc is in that final, but he still might be able, with that gap in the second, to pull it back a little bit wide in the final corner. I think that might just cost him a little bit too much. Comes towards the line, sticks it on the right-hand side. Where's Gergo Baldi going to go? The Hungarian goes to 6th, a decent improvement. Moves him towards the top 5, and definitely a position he can raceable for it.
Just 1 minute 20 on the clock, so he's not going to improve. Can Pinches take pole here? No. It's not even an improvement. Mironovic maybe the next one to cross the line. Up to P6.
6, good lap. Very good lap for Tomasz Mironovic. Julian Kunze still down outside the top 20. What's going on? What is going on with Julian Kunze at the moment, Rob? Bizarre scenario.
He didn't adapt well to the physics change over the winter, but I'm still surprised by his choice to take the BMW. And it's not paying off at all at the moment. Page also quite far back. Kunze up to 12, at least.
It's a raceable position from P now 13. but still maybe not the position that he would want. Leon Ridinger coming out of the final corner in the run towards the line, one of the last people to qualify in this session, hits that timing beam, stays 9th at the moment. Tim Heinemann's pole potentially looks a little bit secure.
Looks like Heinemann is going to take the pole position indeed here. So a Mercedes driver beats all of the BMWs in qualifying. What a surprise, and what a small margin. 4 thousandths ahead of Cihan, 5 thousandths ahead of Christopher Högfeldt, and 15 thousandths ahead of Kirill Antonov.
It's one of the smallest margins for a top 4 that I've ever had the pleasure of commentating on.
Up to P21, they're all within 3/10, up to Martin Warner. And here we go. Drivers are getting ready for the start of the race. Just before we go there, of course, make sure to tune in tomorrow for the VIP race. Got some real racing drivers showing up, some YouTubers like Jimmy Broadbent, of course, racing tomorrow in the VIP race at the 14:30 at the EU time. So make sure to tune in. Lewis will be there as well. And now we're getting ready for the start of the second to last shootout race in the ADAC GT Masters Esports Championship.
Yeah, absolutely crucial to knock in 2 good results here at the Sachsenring. We get ready for that penultimate race, and who is going to come out on top? Tim Heinemann starting from the best position of all from that pole position, as we only have a few seconds to go before we are racing. Who's going to come out on top of this? 40 minutes ahead of us here for the first race of the evening. 1 pit stop required. That will come somewhere in the middle half of the race. There is Tim Heinemann, desperate to get a good start. You can see all of the army of BMWs around him, ready to go. Tim Heinemann leads us away from pole position. Wow, you can see all those BMWs spreading out massively all over the place. Emre Cihan's had the best start and has the whole shot down towards turn 1. Ignore that as we head down into the first corner. It is Emre Cihan who's going to lead from Tim Heinemann, who's now got back in front. Incredible stuff. Christopher Högfeldt directly behind it. Alexander Bremont not been able to muscle his way up, but holds in the 4th position as Tim Heinemann managing to just keep in touch of the lead. Emre Cihan all over the rear end of that Merc through that first sector though. But this is the point where that BMW should be so good for these high-speed corners, even with the weight on. This is the point of the circuit where it is absolutely on it like a car bonnet. Wow, 3 wide back in the back there as we head through the middle portion of that the boot. Up the hill though, Tim Heinemann leading the way by 3/10 of a second. Top 3 pulling away from Vermont Ravonic, getting past Goga Bowdy as well. I think there was a little bit of side-by-side between the two of them as Goga Bowdy just hanging on to 6th position. Kirill Antonov drops down to the 7th position. Adam Pinches. Eamon Murphy, by the way, from 16th up to 9th position. Incredible drive thus far from the Irishman.
Superb start there. We can see Murphy in the background. That is Adam Pinches, who's running in 8th position.
Oh, Högfeldt by Cihan. Högfeldt just got by Cihan. Cihan's now got back through at the final corner. I think that might have just been a little bit too late for Högfeldt, but he's got it hooked up and now has got it through. Högfeldt up to 2nd position. Emre Cihan has to settle for 3rd at present. Now going to try and make it super late on the brakes in the first corner. I'm going to try and make it stick all the way around the outside. There's a brave move, but I think he might make it stick. Oh, what a drive. Fantastic work from Emre Cihan. Did not like the idea of being demoted to 3rd position. Alexander Vermont now trying to get involved as Christopher Högfeldt all over the back, now trying to retake that 2nd position. Tim Heinemann's like, right, this is my time, this is my cue to leave, lads. I'm going to go into some self-isolation at the top end of the field as Kirill Antonov has been spun.
Bad news for the Russian here. Early on in the race, we lost Vega earlier on, who dropped way back. Also Rüdiger and Bedin. It's easy to spot in the yellow Mercedes. Closest battle around Mark Gassner at the moment.
I think everywhere's a tight battle on this field, Rob, with the exception of Heinemann. Everyone is super close. There could be moves aplenty. Eamon Murphy, by the way, did make up another position. This is directly in front of this. All trying to go back down the inside of Eamon Murphy. A little bit of contact with the 2. And I think that's just pushed Eamon Murphy out wide. It's going to cost him a couple of positions. He tries to regain that track position. He might get a bit of freight trained here. Breaks a bit late in the final corner. I think he might just be able to hang on as Eamon Murphy's just trying to hold on to Zbigniew Sierra directly behind and has done so. Aggressive move with maybe a question mark, a robust one from Mark Gassner.
Yeah, Gassner started it off. Oh, look at this in the background. All the BMWs going alongside each other into the corner. Robust move from Gassner, but still got Murphy behind him, so he needs to watch out over the next couple of laps.
Yeah, if I was David Murphy, I would be looking at the back of that car thinking, well, I'm not very happy with that, and I think you might be paying the price for that at the moment. By putting another stellar move. A great drive anyway at the moment from Eamon Murphy in that Merc. We obviously saw in the first 2 qualifiers he was in a pink Audi, whereas decided to swap that in for the Mercedes. Did a good job in that the second race last time out, and this time now looking even more comfortable. Tim Heinemann, as you can see, the low Merc at the front running away from 7 BMWs, all trying to chase him for victory at the first race this afternoon. Great. Just a little bit of a shout out on that start, by the way, as we see Julian Kunz's trying to make some progress. Currently in 12th position, has dropped, has gained a position rather, up into 12th position. Isaac Schulzen directly behind DeMarco, directly in front. The start from Emery Chihan was sensational. Obviously not able to quite hang it through the first corner on the Merc, but Richard Schaefer. That's a shame. You'll see his team boss in action tomorrow, by the way, Rene Butler. But unfortunately for Richard Schaefer, this one not going too well for him. Another one of the Butler Power drivers. This one's Johannes Weiss down in 17th position. A driver that we know, at least from the LAN events, has been quite a talent, the German. Unfortunately, not quite so comfortable here at the moment in the qualifiers for the ADAC GT Masters Esports Championship.
It's good to see him in the race because it's the first time this season that he has qualified for the shootout. Hasn't given up. Feels sure he needs a good performance on the Sachsenring. Look at Barriere cutting the inside of the corner there, going all the way over the grass, gaining some time, but losing it here once again. Barriere taking some liberties with the track limits.
Yeah, you've got to be careful without pushing it too far. By the way, I've just noticed, by the way, at the front, it's only 0.4 of a second that Tim Heinemann has on Emery Chihan. It is closing back up again. I thought Heinemann was going to run away. Maybe deciding I'm not as quick as the BMW. Maybe looking after his tyres. Not 100% sure at the moment what's happening. Richard Schaefer was that car coming out of pit lane, by the way.
Yeah, and we have seen it, that Heinemann in particular has some problems with tyre wear. And we've also seen from the Zandvoort race, where Moritz Löhner qualified with the BMW for the GT Masters Championship, that the BMW is particularly good over a race distance.
I think that's the thing. That would be the reason I would take the BMW at the moment, is because around a circuit like this that's so high on tyre wear, because you're leaning on that front right all the way around from turn 9, you're on that weighted for a very, very long time. Even through this section, you're weighted on it for a very long time as well. You'd want a car that is helpful to its tyres. You don't really want to take a car that's fairly lethargic, fairly heavy. That's why we don't see any Porsches at the moment, because we know that Porsche is pretty heavy on its tyres. Yeah. Because you wouldn't want to take a car like that right now.
Let's see how Chihan drives against Heinemann. We know Heinemann is quite an aggressive driver, so is Högfeld, but Chihan doesn't quite have this reputation. So it will be interesting to see how long he's going to wait, and also it will be interesting to see when they come into the pits for their mandatory pit stop.
Yeah, BMW very big in the rear view of Tim Heinemann. He is very much aware of that. Drags them all over to the left-hand side up towards that pit wall. Now going to have to hang it on. Emery Chihan not fancying a dive down the inside of Coca-Cola at the moment, but certainly looking to pile on the pressure, although putting Tim Heinemann into a pressure-filled mistake is going to be a hard one. Luciano Bedin into the gravel trap at the 14th and penultimate corner. Not the round for him either. Not sure who he had contact with. I did see someone else leaving the gravel trap as well, but unfortunately not going so well. Commitment from Emery Chihan there.
And let's just go through this top 5 here, because remember, the top 5 will qualify not from this race, but from both races combined. We have the points like in the real ADAC GT Masters, 25 points for the winner. And 20 for the second place, 16 for the third place. So, interesting top 5. Mironovic still holding on to P5.
Yeah, Mironovic doing a good job. Gergo Baldi directly behind. Emery Chihan overcooks the second to last corner just a little bit there. It might give him enough room, though, to get a good run through the final corner. He's got to watch his mirrors from Hogfeld, though, who's looking at the final, but decided not to. Oh, that's a bit of a mistake, I think, from Tim Heinemann. Is it going to cost him enough, though? No, he seems to have hooked it up just a little bit. Look at this train. not able to look. Christopher Hogfeld now having to defend from Alexander Vermont, 2 aggressive drivers.
Oh!
Mronovic! There goes Vermont. Going to get back in line. I think that's Pinchot as well with Gergo Bowdy, as far as I'm aware. Now he's going to rejoin. Oh, Vermont, hello. Hits the back of Eamon Murphy as he's trying to rejoin and resettle himself into the group. Now hits Zbigniew Ciara as well. Adam Pinchot is all over the back of fellow Hungarian. Oh no, it's Mark Gassner now. It's Gergo Bowdy. Yeah, he did get by enough in the 5th position.
And that was unfortunate for Vermont. I don't think that was his fault. I think Mironovic was going for a gap that was very, very small there. Of course, he's trying to capitalize as soon as possible, but that, unfortunately, is a big setback for Alexander Vermont. He has to deliver now to save as many points as possible here in this race. And then to have the best possible performance, of course, especially in the second qualifying, to get as high up again.
He may already be qualified, but keeping an eye on things. Ben Spanky in the chat saying Bowdy will finish in P4. Mark these words. Very much on the cards at the moment in 5th position now behind Mironovic. Looking at Tim Heinemann, staring at all these videos. He does get a better run through that final corner, and I think that may well be his saving grace at the moment.
What has happened here?
Must have been offed at the final corner. There was a bit of contact between those two directly behind. Who was that? Was that Ponto and Antonov? I think it was. Or Isaac Shillison down the inside. Wow, good cutback. Well done. Very nice work, Isaac Shillison up into 10th position now. Nice cutback there. That was on Ogroknikov and Ciara. Zbigniew Ciara dropping down a few positions, courtesy of Alexander Vermont's rejoin. It's allowed Eamon Murphy just to pull away a little bit at the moment.
Oh, and Vermont.
Oh, that's not good.
I think that's game over for him.
Yeah, I think so. Unfortunately, it all falls away for the Frenchman. So very, very quick. I agree with you. I don't think he was at fault for that T1 being Mironovic. Maybe going for a gap that he maybe had right to, but it was just a little bit aggressive. You can see just behind Tim Heinemann, Emre Can and Hogfeld. Once again, we lose them behind the trees, but those two are very much in attack formation, trying to put pressure as Hogfeld on the back of Emre Can, who's trying to get by the German of Tim Heinemann.
And there were the first cars coming into the pit lane, and I think Baldi was one of them.
Maybe that's his way of trying to make it. Oh, look at that, trying to really cover it off. We can just see that's Emre Can just trying to cover off Hogfeld. Now, whilst this is going on, Mironovic has really caught up Adam Pinches. Whilst those cars have come into the pit lane, we'll think, right, I'm going to try and close this gap. Maybe make a pit stop at the end of this lap. That pit window open for the very first time, and a lot of drivers thinking, this is my time, I'm coming straight in. You can see, by the way, the green marker, those that have completed the pit stop, a lot of those will go green at the bottom end of that once they've completed that pit stop, but that is their requirement done within the pit lane. Could be a good move from Gergo Bowdy to get himself out of traffic. Mark Gassner directly behind, same as with Eamon Murphy.
And by the way, it is clear to run over the exit curb there. Not going to be penalized, but of course if you cross the way of someone, it's your fault when you come from the outside. Oh, very close for the front here. Gian trying. Oh, Hugfeld on the inside. And Gian is closing the door late. But now it's on the inside of Heinemann. Oh, Heinemann comes across.
Wow, this is getting pretty dicey. Adam Pinches did get by Mironovic. Oh, they're all going to dive into the pit lane there. Yeah, Adam Pinches got by Mironovic. Was looking to get by Hogfeld as well. If we retake a look at that, Tim Heinemann a little bit robust with his defence. Same as with Emre Can. Hogfeld trying to get it down the inside. But now he's having to defend from Adam Pinches, maybe a slightly unknown quantity to Christopher Hogfeld. But of course, the Williams Doom Esports driver of Adam Pinches, one known for a bit more touring car and stuff like that action. A very, very quick driver on RaceRoom. Maybe not quick enough for the top flight team of Williams Esports, who have qualified 4 drivers into the ADAC GT Masters Championship thus far. But maybe they could sign a 5th if Pinches could do the duty today.
When Gian is losing places, Baldi and Gassner have gone through. So when is Heinemann going to come in? He has to come in this lap.
I would assume that Gergo Bowdy, based on where he was, I think Gergo Bowdy might be in the lead.
Yeah.
unless it was a bad pit lane entry or something from Emery Cheehan, but dropping 2 positions at that point, he was right on the back of Tim Heinemann when he came in. I think this could be very, very good for the BMWs of Gergo Bowdy and Mark Gassner. Is Tim Heinemann going to come into the pit lane this time by? He's got the trio of BMWs, Hogfeld, Pinches and Mironovic directly behind. Is he going to pull left? No, he's not. He's staying out directly behind. Anyone else deciding to jump in the pit lane? I don't think so. They're all staying out.
It's going to be a massive mistake, but of course you have to think about it. You have to drive a long time on these worn tires.
Absolutely. I think it was this circuit in 2015, I think it was, in slightly wet conditions, mine, where Valentino Rossi decided it was a good idea to stay out as long as possible, ended up losing that race massively to Marc Marquez. Not that it really matters because he bikes and stuff, but at the same time, this circuit, well, it's relevant. Down the hill again, another lap potentially to be ticked off at the moment, but Christopher Hogfeld, a pretty aggressive driver. We've seen some of the lunges he's pulled off thus far in this race alone. Now he's met Tim Heinemann on circuit, looking incredibly quick at the moment is Christopher Hogfeld, as is the 2 BMWs directly behind. It's a hard target to pass though. Adam Pinches now going to try and make it stick around the outside of the second to last corner. That's very, very aggressive, very late, but I think it might just work off as he is absolutely committed around the outside. He is ahead at the moment. Now going to have to really commit on the brakes. A little bit of contact between the two. Hogfeld once again a bit more contact, and Adam Pinches up in the second position as they all come down the pit lane. Whoa, that's close.
Cars are stuck inside each other here. No collisions in the pit lane, of course, but that was a crazy moment, and I think Heinemann is still out. Yes, Heinemann is still staying out here. Not sure if this strategy is going to pay off for him. And I think we will see that they've lost a lot of time compared to Gergo Bowdy, who's under pressure by Mark Gassner.
Yeah, Mark Gassner in turn is not exactly away from pressure from Emery Cheehan behind as well. These lot will fly by. Look at that. Look how much time they've gained. Oh, there he goes down the inside. Mark Gassner now into a potential lead, but overcooks it at T1. May drop a position to Emery Cheehan as well. Not quite. Manages to hang on to P10 at the moment. 9th position goes the way of Gergo Bowdy. Smart decision to back out of that one from Gergo. Just think, I'll go by when you open the corner, mate. See ya. That won't happen again. I think Mark Gassner will be very much aware of that and think, okay, the next time I try it, I'm not missing the corner. How far did Hogfeld come out behind this, by the way?
He's still the next car in the queue, right? Lost like 2 seconds, so still acceptable. But
yeah,
I think
2.9.
These two have to come in now.
They don't. Staying out again. Madness. I wonder if Tim Heinemann's in a position where he knows he can't do it because of the tyres. Currently a tenth separating the leaders. Still no move, by the way, so we'll check back on that in a moment. Emery Cheehan very much looking on the back of this in contention for a victory. Such a steep corner, that final one. It cannot be understated. I'd love to go and see it in real life. I bet it's a lot steeper than it looks. That camera angle seems to do it justice as DeMarco comes to the pit lane and will lead a little bit further down the order. I think Eamon Murphy's made some good moves as well at the moment through this pit stop sequence, as he's got by Adam Pinches as well as Isaac Jullison. I think he's on very potentially for a net 7, maybe even higher than that. Puts
I think it depends how long Heinemann stays out, and that's Murphy in the same car on kind of the opposite strategy of Heinemann here. That would be interesting to see.
Maybe Evan Murphy's a bit better on his tyres than the German of Tim Heinemann. We know he's a bit heavy on the car. Of course, incredibly quick. A GT4 driver in the real world stays out, but Mironovic thinks this is my time, thanks. See ya.
Yeah, I think Mironovic really waited too late there. For Heinemann, I can understand the strategy if he has to split it because of the Mercedes being heavier on the tyres. I'm not sure if it's any help for Mironovic to wait so long. Yeah,
I think it might be a bold strategy.
Pinches tried around the outside there. Apologies for these camera angles. It's very difficult to get the right ones here because they're all part of a cycle, and somehow all of them end up in the forest. So trying our best here to bring you the live racing action. And Mironovic behind Pinches. He's the car who's just coming out of the pit lane now. It's behind Ogorodnikov even.
Yeah, that's really worked out in a poor fashion for Mironovic, and I think that says where Tim Heinemann is also going to come out. So some drivers have made big gains, some drivers have lost a lot, but maybe Mironovic will come back through this race towards the latter part when everyone else is struggling on their tyres. He'll think, this is my time to come through. It's just about being calm, being patient, and taking it one move at a time. Currently in 13th position. Of course, he'll gain at least 3 once Johannes Weiss, Jens Fiedler, and Kaspering all come in the pit lane. Tim Heinemann's a bit of a question mark, although I think he will jump Heinemann. We watch Eamon Murphy staring into the eyes of Adam Pinches directly behind. Oh, Heinemann's in. Trying to go for a cut back, Adam Pinches, maybe get it down the inside of the final corner. Decent drive from the Mercedes driver of Eamon Murphy. Out of the penultimate corner, now goes for an earlier apex and should be able to pin it to the line and just hang on for one more lap on Adam Pinches. There's Tim Heinemann leaving pit lane. I think it's been a better stop for him than it was for Mironovic. I think he's going to hang on to at least tonight. That's a decent pit stop then from Mercedes. Comes out just behind Adam Pinches.
Yeah, it might still be good for a top 5 finish in the end, but it's so hard to overtake here. We've not really seen many overtaking maneuvers here that were pulled off successfully. And now Heinemann, this is the phase where he probably has the fastest car. In the beginning, the Mercedes should be a little bit quicker than the BMW. Now he's stuck right behind Adam Pinches.
The thing is, I said in qualifying, with where the strengths are for this Mercedes, I think that might work in. Oh, that was very close from Pinches, just ahead on Eamon Murphy. I think this might work out though for Tim Heinemann in the sense of he's going to be stronger out of, say, for example, the final corner. That should be a corner that this Mercedes is very, very good at. Leads into turn 1, a great overtaking opportunity, and a corner where this car is quite strong. Eamon Murphy going defensive on Adam Pinches once again. Adam Pinches saying, oh, go around the outside of then. Okay, bye. See ya. That's a great move from Adam Pinches. Not quite complete just yet, as Eamon Murphy's going to try and pin it down the inside of the final corner. But out of there, I think Adam Pinches will do it. Great stuff. Tim Heinemann saying, I'm going to take advantage of that, nearly put on the grass by Eamon Murphy, up towards the first corner. And that is a move done for Adam Pinches. A move done maybe for Tim Heinemann. But Eamon Murphy's going to try hang around the outside, a bit of contact from Adam Pinches there. Oh, Tim Heinemann pushes Eamon Murphy off the road. That's that one done. Maybe a little bit too aggressive for my liking from Tim Heinemann, but gets the move done. Now looks down the inside of Adam Pinches, making these tyres work for him in the early phases of the second stint for the German driver.
And just to point out the questions in the chat, the reason why everyone drives a BMW here is because you have to make a car choice for only one track. And then there's always, of course, the best scenario that's kind of easy to figure out. Just to remember, in the last shootout, we raced at Nürburgring and Hockenheim on 2 different tracks, and there was not a single BMW on the grid, even though it has less weight.
Yeah, well, you know, very wide. Tim Heinemann followed Pinches in there. As racing drivers, you're always going to pick, or you're going to try and pick an option that works best in the race. You're never going to shoot yourself in the foot for no reason, unless your name's Oscar Hardwick, at which point you take a Nissan around a circuit where it's not very good.
I feel like Heinemann did the same here, because he races a Mercedes, of course, in the GT4 Germany.
I don't think it's necessarily shot him in the foot just yet. I think he might be able to make this work, although it is going to be a tough 2 races. I remind you that 2 5th places is good, but not necessarily good enough to qualify. Because I think, if I recall correctly, getting maybe a 3rd and a 6th is good enough to qualify. It's good enough to beat. Obviously, we'll do the championship standings later on. Don't worry. But a 5th and a 5th, sure, you're in the top 5 in both races, but it's not good enough to guarantee you a 5th in the effectively the small championship that we have between these 2 races. So it might be good, but it's not good enough necessarily. He's got a lot of work, by the way. Even if he gets by Adam Pinches pretty soon, he's got a solid 4 seconds up to Christopher Hogfeld, who's 2.4 seconds off the back of Emery Chihan, Mark Gassner and Gogo Baldi, who remain in that order. Jens Fiedler thinking, well, I'll do the Risto Capit method, stick a few laps in the lead, tick a few off, maybe get myself a bit of broadcast time.
He does, but we have to go to the guy in second place, who's practically leading the race here. Gergo Baldi, finally with a good race, but with Mark Gassner, he's got one of the most aggressive drivers behind him, and Gassner goes for the dive again.
That's not going to work. That is
Oh, he spins off!
That was far too deep, and unfortunately now Mark Gassner's going to struggle to get back on. Of course, gravel traps in this could result in some suspension damage. He's going to rejoin. Oh, very nearly inside of Eamon Murphy. There's another one off in the background. Not sure who that one is. I think it's Julian Kunze off in the background. Mark Gassner now down to 8th position from 3rd, but it was realistically 2nd on the road. And now going to be under pressure from Ogor Ognikov and Isaac Gillison directly behind. So that's a free position for the likes of Chihan, Hogfeld, Pinches, Heinemann and Murphy. Just too aggressive. I thought he would have learned from that first attempt. Unfortunately, not so much.
That's what I would call an unforced error. Bit of a weird line from Ogorotnikov there. Playing lawnmower.
Well, why not have fun, isn't it? A decent drive from a lot of these drivers inside the top 10, putting on a good show for us. But yeah, unfortunately, that one, like you say, yeah, an unforced error. Gergo Valdi was receiving all of the pressure from Gassner and thinking, look, cards are in your hand, mate, you go for it. Of course, the thing is with Gergo Valdi, he's a wily old fox. He's raced for a very long time in sim racing over a number of different categories, whether they're open wheelers, whether they're GTs, touring cars, pro. Oh, contact! Is that Mironovic again?
I think it was DeMarco, but
no, yeah, DeMarco.
Couldn't quite see it from this angle. Either way, Gillison and DeMarco back, and we can see the desperation here in some of these drives today. Of course, it's the last shootout. There's not another chance. But that's certainly one for the stewards. Of course, we do have race stewards here. They will go. They will be active after the race has finished, so drivers can send a protest. And once again, to the comments in the chat, it's not a problem of the BOP here, it's a problem that you have to pick a car for one track, and that will always be the best choice in this case of scenario. And all these drivers want to qualify for the main prize here, for the main season. So even if a car is just 1/10 off, which is basically what the Porsche is compared to the BMW here, it's still they're still not going to take it in this particular scenario.
1/10 in qualifying is the difference between first and I think it was about 6th or 7th on a track that's so hard to overtake. You don't want to pay that price. That's a big price to pay.
Just switched away at the exact wrong moment.
They're all pretty much stationary. Pavlovsky trying to get by at the moment. That's Martin Barner directly ahead. Oh, bit of contact between the two. Martin Barner now going to hit the apex a little bit earlier, courtesy of the side swipe from Pavlovsky. Now having to look behind as well. Vincent Yarshall doing a good job, currently in 15th position, trying to work his way up the order. We look back towards Eamon Murphy, under pressure from Mark Gassner after that incident at turn 1. Obviously, no real damage. Now gets down the inside. Not quite going to work, but a nice aggressive attempt from the German driver, Eamon Murphy, just managing to hang on. This will end up being 6th position, the battle for. So a good drive from Eamon Murphy, up from, I think, something about plus 10. I think he qualified about 16th position. Made most of those in the first lap line. Looking behind that as well, you've got Ogorokov and Mironovic as well, Pajic and Kunze not too far behind. Eamon Murphy very defensive into the second to last corner. Oh, a little bit overcooked it though. Whilst he was defensive, he didn't manage to get to the apex. Now he's going to have to hook it all the way around the inside. Mark Gassner is going to muscle his way through, and I think that should be the position for Mark Gassner. He's done a very good job though for Eamon Murphy to hang it around the outside. He might get a little bit of a bump draft as well from Ogorokov behind. And now Ogorokov, oh, a bit of contact from Mark Gassner as he pushes him off. There's more contact at the first corner, and that's Eamon Murphy halfway round. Mark Gassner may have just half spun as well. Picked it up. My goodness me, Ogorokov gained a position up to 7th position. Eamon Murphy, I think that was a bit too much of a pinch on Mark Gassner's part. A bit hard to tell from that angle, so I wouldn't judge it too harshly. Ogorokov says, I don't really care how that went. I gained a couple of positions.
Yeah, and I think Alex Dornin says it completely correctly in the chat. So many stupid moves in this race.
There has been a lot. It is a hard circuit to overtake at, but what was that? Oh yeah, we did a street circuit in a race not too long ago on a different sim, and I made the point that a lot of drivers blame the circuit for bad drive. Like, oh well, I drove badly because of the circuit, and I'm always like, that is not an excuse. The circuit is not an excuse for poor behaviour on circuit. The only person to blame for bad driving is a bad driver. So you know, read into that what you will.
Fiedler into the pits now, last one to pit.
There you go, you got a bit of information on Tim Heinemann and Mark Gassner as well. Both compete in the ADAC GT Masters. One in ADAC GT4 Germany for Tim Heinemann and GT Masters for Mark Gassner. Done fair competition in real life. Of course, Tim Heinemann's been at the forefront of RaceRoom for quite a while. As we look at this battle, a little bit further down the order, Marko Pejic. Just trying to get by, yeah, Julian Kunze as well, directly behind in 11th position, trying to gain as much as he can and maybe not have a poor second race. He's trying to show some good pace, maybe get into the rhythm of the Sachsenring. Is Julian Kunze not in the position that he'd want to be in at the moment, in 11th, but needs to tick off a few points. We brought this up with who was it a few rounds ago? Maurice Lerner at Zandvoort, who only had only had one chance to get a good result on the board after an incident with his teammate, a run-in at Austria with his teammate. Then had to get a good result in Zandvoort, decided that now was a good time to get second position, and it was enough to qualify. Potentially could be the way that Julian Kunze needs to get this afternoon underway.
Yeah, and I can see a repeat of this for sure with the way the race has been going today. And it's no surprise to see Garibaldi in the lead of the race, one of the most calm drivers in the battle.
Gergo, see, this is the thing with Gergo. We know he can be aggressive, but he's very, very smart with how he uses that aggression. I think that is a lot of that is experienced with Damon Murphy and Mark Gassner. I think that was side by side. Moronovic now dropping down the order in now in 10th position as he's side by side with Pejic, now trying to muscle his way back up. Pejic says, I'm not going to give you that room. So Pejic, Moronovic says to Pejic, no, I'm not going to give you that room. Now gets up into 9th position and Pejic down to 10th position. But yeah, what I was saying about Garibaldi is he uses aggression in such a way that it's always, he very rarely picks up a penalty. He's normally a very smart driver. Normally the last one to blink in a scenario, but really, really plays his cards right. And it is you're absolutely right. It is no surprise to see him in a comfortable position in the lead. Now Emery Chihan directly behind him should be able to potentially hang on over the final 10 minutes of the race. I wouldn't want to try and overtake Garibaldi in the final 10.
I think Chihan just needs to play it safe here, needs to play it smart. He's got the pace, he was the fastest in the pre-qualifying session. He doesn't have to win this race.
No, just a second position is a great points haul, and then have a solid second race. Julian Kunze now up the inside of Pejic. Pejic just managed to hang around the outside and hold that position. You're absolutely right, you just need a good position. I think Emery Chihan might go full Haniyovsky on this and just think, oh, I'll be right with this. Julian Kunze looking down the inside. This is an aggressive driver. Euronics Gaming, maybe a little bit too deep, but going to hook it up and go through second and third corner and maybe look for a move at T4. Not close enough by any stretch of the imagination, though. It's a pretty solid drive from Julian Kunze, just maybe not good enough. There is your race leader, Garibaldi, currently leading by a second. You're absolutely right. They are not paying us. I wish they were. A lot of BMWs represented here at the moment at the Sachsenring for the ADAC GT Masters Esports Championship final qualifier. That final attempt once again between the two races, the top 5 overall on a points scoring system will move through onto the grid. Will join the current 15 drivers and form a 20-car grid for the ADAC GT Masters Esports Championship. Currently, the final man in that top 5 is this man, Tim Heinemann, trying to close to the back of Alan Pinchez, who has caught up to the back of... Hogfeld's caught him and passed him, I think.
I think Hook. I'm not sure if Hookfeld was ahead of him. I think he
I
was
don't think-
ahead
I
of him
don't-
because Pinches and Heinemann were fighting, so Hookfeld must have been ahead of him. Either way, Pinches in a good position. So is Hookfeld, and of course Jihan and Baldi. Yeah, but we look at Ogorodnikov, for example, sitting in P6. That could work out.
Absolutely. Of course, they have to go through through qualifying once again. We'll get that after this, and then we'll have another 40-minute race. Of course, bearing in mind how this one's unfolded, I would suspect the next 40-minute race is going to unfold in a very, very different fashion. Mark Gassner, one of those drivers who I would suspect to see a bit closer towards the front after various issues through this race, and most done of his own volition. And I'd suspect he'll be delighted to return his way towards the front end of the field come that second race, should he be able to. Of course, we've got to go through another super tight qualifying session again, which will be enthralling as well, with some points on the board.
And I'm still trying to figure out in my mind which one had the better strategy from the two Mercedes this year, Murphy or Heinemann. Not quite sure yet. I think it might have been actually Murphy.
I agree. I mean, as much as it is easy to be like, oh, Tim Heinemann's ahead, though, I think you're right. Pavlovsky now looking down the inside of Barnett. Didn't quite make that mistake. Now, fellow Pole Zbigniew Sciarra trying to find any way round. And Vincent Yarshall as well, directly behind on his grid one. Is it his debut, or has he been in before? It's his debut in this, anyway.
Yeah, might have been. Not quite up to date on that, unfortunately.
No, me neither. See them all wrestle their way down the hill and then back up. Mark Gassner still staring at the back of that Mercedes. He's going to be sick of the Mobil 1 sponsored car ahead of him.
And you can
I'm
see
gonna get
that
by somewhere.
he's clearly faster right now, but even though he is, he can't really pass. Gassner has made the most attempts at overtaking, and basically it has only hurt him in the race.
Yeah, is he going to be a bit fearful of trying to make an overtake now that he's made a couple and both of them have ended poorly? Well, one of them very poorly, one of them returning to that second position, Rogers. I don't think so either. I think he's going to be determined. He's going to look down the inside. It's going to be committed, but not enough. Further back, Pajic. And is that Julian Kunze?
Yeah.
It is Julian Kunze, yeah, going side by side, toe to toe down the hill.
So if you're watching at home and you don't know which BMW is which, then make sure also to look at the tower on the left side. We put it now that the driver that's on the Focus is, sticking a little bit out on the tower. So you can see directly who's the car in front of him, who's the car behind him.
I think it's been more helpful if people didn't take BMWs all the time.
Well, what I can tell you already is for the full season of the ADAC GT Masters that's coming up, you have to take the same car in each race, and we already have 4 different cars on the grid. So that's going to be quite the difference compared to this race that we have here today.
Oh,
Pinches.
Adam Pinches. That was aggressive. Now down the inside of Hogfeld. Is Hogfeld going to hang on? Oh, I don't think there is a Hogfeld there. He's trying to hang on, but I think Pinches pushed him out rather wide. He's done a good job to hang on, and maybe just enough room there given by Adam Pinches. He's now going to have to hang on around the outside of the first corner. We've seen this work earlier in the race for some drivers. Is Hogfeld going to show him the same level of respect? No, he's all right. That was a fantastic move from Adam Pinches.
Yeah, great work there. Also, good driving by Hookfeld. Gave him a little bit of contact, but so did Pinches when he went alongside him. So all good, both cars staying on the track.
Eamon Murphy dropped down the field. I think he might be out of the race. I think Eamon Murphy's out of the race. He is. Oh, goodness me.
That's the dream over for Eamon Murphy. He's not going to qualify unless he wins the next race, but I don't think that's what we can expect after the performance here. What a shame.
Certainly one of the highlights of today's racing. And to be fair, at various times throughout the qualifiers here, has done some good things, has had some good showings. Unfortunately, it's not going to piece itself together. Julian Kunze then gained the position to move himself up into the top 10 courtesy of that issue. We're obviously not sure as to what happened, and
I hope it wasn't Gassner with the dive again.
Yeah,
That's
same.
something for the stewards to figure out after the race.
It is noted once we depart here and we have our top 5, that top 5 is going to be very provisional, I feel. At the moment, the drivers in that top 5, Gogo Baldi, Emery Chihan, Adam Pinches, Christopher Hogfeld and Tim Heinemann rounding out that top 5. Those ones are going through. At the moment, obviously, from the first of 2 races, Julian Kunz are now going to try and go around the outside of Pajic. Oh, I don't think he's going to be able to. He's going to try and cut back and maybe go back down the inside, but there is a big old BMW in the way there. And unfortunately, no way by for the German of Julian Kunze on his compatriots. Not yet, anyway. We will get 1 lap after this. Ogorokov, who's put in a very decent showing. 1.7 seconds behind Tim Heinemann, but a solid nearly 4 seconds ahead of Gassner behind. It has been a brilliant drive. 6th position. Be some decent points for him to pick up on.
Yeah, great performance here. Certainly one of the big surprises. You have to go to the front because Emrichian, well, it looked a bit closer on the timing than it actually is. But he's not so far away from Gergobaldi as they are going into the final lap. And let me tell you a fun fact. We already had 2 full seasons of the GT Masters. We had 1 shootout last time. We had the LAN final at the Tuning World Bodensee. We had already 6 shootout races here this season. And the BMW has never won a race before. So this could be a premiere. And it's going to be a BMW 1, 2, 3, 4 here at the Sachsenring.
Yeah, a bit of a way to do it in style, isn't it? Maybe we're not getting paid to do it by BMW. Maybe some other people are, as there is Julian Kunze potentially getting by Pajic. And yes, he has completed that move now. So 9th position goes the way of Julian Kunze, and Pajic demoted down to the back end of the top 10.
Murphy just confirming in the chat he's been spun.
Such a shame. Such a shame. A message of what could have been. I'm sure there'll be some strong feelings towards what I'm assuming is Gassner, as it was the only car around him at the time. I'm sure there'll be some strong feelings on that part. Gogo Baldi, though, only a couple of corners to traverse, and it has been a solid drive. Strategic work absolutely ticked off today for the Hungarian of Gergo Baldi. Mirror Esports go to the top, and Gergo Baldi is victorious in the first of the double at Sachsenring. Emery Chihan behind Adam Pinches rounds out the podium to make it 2 Hungarians up there. Williams Gym Esports looking to try and get their 5th car. Well, Williams Esports anyway, get to get their 5th car into the ADAC GT Esports Championship, and I think that that would be pretty handy for them to have 1/4 of the grid. Obviously, Williams Gym Esports is the feeder team for that. Tim Heinemann rounds out the top 5. Of course, Hogfeld also in that. Great drive on strategy, but now we've had that. This is the thing, is unlike in the other circuits where you would take that information, you'd be like, right, okay, that almost means nothing, now let's just move on to the next race. People are going to look at this race, people are going to think a lot of people pitted early, and I think you are going to see most of the grid next time pit as soon as the window opens, because it worked out in such a strong fashion for Gergo Baldi. Emery Chihan left it a couple of laps, but still came out in decent position for contention, so and maybe not rule it out so much. Adam Pinches did a great job there. There is your finishing order. Rob, that was an interesting race, shall we say, at the Sachsenring.
Yeah, the most aggressive race we've seen so far. Fastest lap goes to Chihan. And I think a deserved winner with Gergo Baldi, who kept his nose clean. And Spunky didn't quite predict it correctly. Said he will finish before. No, it was the victory indeed for the Mirror Esports driver. Congratulations to him. Congratulations as well to Chihan, Pinches, Högfeld and Heinemann. And then the big surprise, Egor Ogorodnikov in P6 ahead of Mark Gassner, who's been in a bit of trouble with the stewards, I guess, after this race. Mironovic, Kunze and Pajic rounding out the top 10.
Yeah, Gassner's going to be summoned by the stewards, that is for sure. But nevertheless, focusing on the positives, there were some good drives, and hopefully we get to see that all over again. Of course, there was some aggression, maybe a little too much in some parts there. But I'm looking forward to the next race, maybe with a little bit of hesitation, but I'm sure it's going to be good fun.
Yeah, and of course, to what could be better than to watch the best crashes of the last shootout. So that's what we got for you. Stay tuned. We'll be back in a bit.
Ja, ich sag mal, in Bedrängnis zu bringen und hinten. Oh Mann, man kann überhaupt nicht hinschalten.
Oh, da gibt es die Berührung und Jaschel dreht es weg. Da wurde der Platz zu wenig in der Mercedes Arena und der Pole-Sitter dreht sich ein. Aber das war jetzt ganz schwierig zu sagen, wer da zu hart eingelenkt hat. Ich glaube nämlich fast, da hat Jaschel einen Tick zu wenig Platz innen gelassen. Und hat sich das so ein bisschen selber da ins Knie geschossen. Aber schwierig zu beurteilen von der Einkameraperspektive, die wir da haben. Alle sind ihm im großen Schlenker hinterhergefahren. Der ist aktuell auf der 11. So, und Martin Barner, immer ein Porsche und da wird einer umgedreht und das ist Leon Rüdinger. Nein, das darf nicht wahr sein. Leon Rüdinger, der immer irgendwie schafft, ganz gut ins Mittelfeld zu kommen und sich da zu halten. Da geht immer wieder irgendwas schief. Das ist nicht das erste Mal. Oh, und der ist hier in einem Wahnsinns.
Was ist denn hier los?
Ist das Schäfer, da ist der Mike Stoffmehl mit drin. Ja. Ist das ein Parkplatz hier? Das sind ja auf allen Ecken dieser Strecke, da sind Autos verteilt. Das hast du normalerweise, wenn die stehen, aber doch nicht, wenn hier gefahren wird. Pass jetzt auf, der hat die ganze Zeit dem Marc Gassner mit diesem Überholversuch zugeguckt. Und was macht er?
Genau das Gleiche. Und jetzt trifft der Heinemann. Und jetzt geht's schief. Heinemann wird gedreht. Ah, Mann! Das gibt's doch nicht.
Das war nicht nötig in dem Fall gewesen, aber Respekt erstmal an Eamon Murphy, auch wenn da Tim Heinemann sich nicht viel von kaufen kann, aber Murphy hat gewartet, bis Heinemann wieder vor ihm auf der Position gewesen ist. Also der Ira hat zumindest mal Gentleman's Agreement walten lassen. Ja, aber trotzdem wird sich da, ja, Heinemann wird da nicht mehr viel von haben.
Hast du da außenrum, findet er die Beschleunigung.
Das war Baldi. Gergo Baldi kommt da durchgeflogen. Ja. Und da muss ich sagen, da haben Isaac Gillison und Alexandre Bromont mal richtig gut reagiert. Die haben nämlich beide gemerkt, dass der AMG da innen angesaust kommt und haben ein bisschen die Tür offen gelassen, Baldi komplett ins Leere fliegen lassen. So kannst du auch.
Stimmt, das war Frommo. Bitte, ey. Das gibt es doch einfach nicht. So, und da Frommo, Mann! Das gibt's doch nicht. Also bremst er sich mit aller Gewalt irgendwie in diesen Zweikampf rein, trifft dann vor ihm den Vorherfahrenden. Wer war denn das? Das dürfte Karel Vega gewesen sein, der schwarze Porsche, den er da abgeräumt hat. Ich kann es gar nicht genau sagen. So ein Riesenchaos haben wir da gerade eben gesehen. Also zweimal ist erneut der Franzose in Zweikämpfen verwickelt. Fromont, Sachskurve. Aber guck mal, der lässt sich auch nicht aus dem Tritt bringen. Ne? Andere Fahrer, die würden jetzt sagen, meine Güte, ich habe es jetzt zweimal verrissen und ich stecke mal jetzt lieber zurück. Aber der sagt, nee, also jetzt habe ich eh nichts mehr zu verlieren. Jetzt kann ich wenigstens gleich die richtig durchziehen.
Yeah, some interesting bits there across the previous round. I'm sure there'll be a few to add to that after this, of course, but it certainly was an interesting round. Now we've had our first race here at the Sachsenring. We'll get another one to you shortly, and I'm sure it will deliver all the thrills and spills of the previous few, Rob.
Yes, indeed, we hope so too. We just have a little bit of need a little bit more time to get all the drivers onto the server here, as yeah, we're struggling a little bit with the increased demand here for internet to get the drivers onto the server.
So, yeah, of course, that is actually a good point. Everything at the moment is currently free on RaceRoom, so it's the best time to download the game, get into some of the content. There is so much on offer in RaceRoom, and it is definitely worth your time to come on to take part. I'm sure there's plenty of leaderboard competitions and stuff for you to take part in. Maybe have a feel in some of these cars around the circuits and get a grip as to what some of our drivers are dealing with around these circuits, and see what else is up for offer across RaceRoom. There's plenty of competitions to keep your eye on over the next few months, and of course, don't forget to tune in tomorrow at 1:30 my time, 2:30 in the rest of Europe for the VIP race. Plenty of great drivers in that. It is going to be a solid race. GT3's Nordschleife. I'm really looking forward to it. I don't know if you are at home, but it's going to be a good one. Plenty of drivers in there of quality. Plenty of real-world race drivers. So that from BTCC, WTCR, VLN, all over the place. A couple of from WEC and all that lot. Of course, famous YouTubers as well, likes of Jimmy Broadbent. Certainly drivers to fill the grid. I'm sure it's going to be a cracker of a race.
Yes, indeed. We're just waiting for the drivers to get back into the game here. It faced a little bit of a delay.
It wouldn't be a round without. Well, to be fair, we've actually done very well through the qualifiers. We've not had too many technical issues. This is the main one at the moment. Naturally, the way of things. It's kind of how it goes sometimes. It must be said we've got a quality grid already put together for the ADAC GT Masters Esports Championship. Plenty of drivers on there that have shown well throughout that pre-qualifier. Of course, some that have done multiple rounds of that, let's say Jack Keithley, I think may go into the full season with a touch of an advantage in a certain way. They've actually had a few times to accelerate themselves through the cars, and also for some drivers try different cars throughout that. The likes of Kuba Brzezinski, who raced a month and a half ago now. The first group of qualifiers went through. And secured the 5 positions on the grid for that first qualifier. That was back at Oschersleben and Autodrom Most, and Kuba Brzezinski won both of them. He's not driven for a little while though, so maybe whenever that season starts, we're not too sure yet, obviously, with the way the world is at the moment. Maybe looking towards it with a bit of a question mark as to form on various drivers. We'll have to wait and see. Yeah.
Just trying to sort out the situation here behind the scenes. And while we're waiting, why not watch the best overtakes from the last shootout? We will be back in a moment.
Jetzt die Frage, kommt der Konter nochmal von Adam Pinchez? Riskiert er die Plätze vor allen Dingen von Erhan Jajowski, weil das ist der Einzige, der jetzt hier einen Schaden davon tragen kann. Adam Pinchez bei weitem nicht qualifiziert, aber er sieht es nicht ein, aufzugeben.
Überhaupt nicht, das ist faszinierend. Also Adam Pinchez, anstatt dass der sich sagt, na komm, dann fahr halt vor, ich habe ja sowieso jetzt hier nichts zu melden, von wegen, er sagt sich nur, nee, so einfach gebe ich die Position nicht her. Und jetzt ist Nestor Garcia auch nochmal mit dran. 1 Minute 30 noch zu fahren, das ist jetzt die letzte Runde gleich für die Piloten. Springen wir einen Schritt zurück, weil der Marc Gassner nämlich unter Druck steht von Tim Heinemann. Da gibt es gerade den Positionswechsel. Ja, und Heinemann ist an Gassner vorbeigezogen.
Aber das war sehr früh. Das war sehr, sehr früh. Gassner könnte theoretisch nochmal kreuzen und der könnte definitiv besser aus der Hairpin rauskommen.
Ja, Tim Jaschel hat es gleichzeitig gegen Nestor Garcia versucht. Da kommt jetzt auch gleich die nächste Attacke. Oh, ganz spät auf der Bremse. Und das war, glaube ich, ein leichter Treffer auf Heinemann. Aber zum Glück nur minimal nichts Schlimmes passiert. Und da geht Jaschel an Garcia vorbei. Aber richtig stark vorbeigeschoben. Nebenbei Gergo Baldi ist bis auf die 12 zurückgefallen. Da ist auf jeden Fall beim Start in der ersten Kurve richtig was schief gelaufen beim Ungar. Ganz, ganz bitter. Daher Erhan Jajowski zum Beispiel schon vor auf die 7 geklettert mit Adam Pinchez mit dabei. Aber die sind weiter hinten. Mal gucken, was sich Jack Keithley jetzt einfallen lassen wird. Ich glaube mal, der Erhan Jajowski hinten.
Ja,
der
klar,
geht ein bisschen
versucht
früher. Jetzt pass mal auf, jetzt achte mal auf den Mazedonier. Was macht der? Na, nee, der hält sich zurück. Der hält sich zurück, man sieht das nicht.
Abwarten, da kommt die Linie. Und das hat er schön gesehen, also nur ein bisschen verzögert. Hätte Jack Keithley da nur einen kleinen Fehler gemacht, wäre er da gewesen. Jack Keithley bremst sich richtig krass hinten rein. Oh, das hat er gut gemacht. Hat da der Nestor Garcia schön beiseite gedrückt. Nestor Garcia musste vom Gas gehen, um das Auto nicht zu verlieren. Erneut geht er vom Gas Haniowski verhindert im allerletzten Moment den Crash. Oh, Jack Keithley, was bist du für ein Tier? Riesen Respekt an den Spanier hinten. Tim Jarschel versucht es jetzt eingangs.
Und wo fährt denn der
da
Stoffmehl
treibt der
hin?
Mike Stoffmehl in den Fehler. Was war das denn für ein Ding? Und der dreht sich jetzt da hinten auch noch weg. Nee, das ist es nicht. Tim Jarschel bleibt weiterhin dran. Die machen den Tree-Rider auf. Das ist Tim Heinemann, der Verrückte. Der kann sich nie aus so einer Scheiße raushalten. Das gibt's doch nicht. Meine Güte, und er macht's am Ende und er holt sich 2 Fahrzeuge gleichzeitig.
Wahnsinn, wie der die da ausgetrickst hat, regelrecht.
Wow. Yes, that was a very good move from Tim Heinemann. That is absolutely for sure. Still don't think it has much on that move between Risto Capet and Alexander Donovan back in Austria. That was absolutely stunning. We've had some great racing here in the qualifiers. I can't wait to see what happens in that main series. We've just got a bit of a technical issue that we are trying to sort out. It does seem to be to fixing itself at the moment, so we should hopefully get to some racing once again and see how it goes in qualifying as everyone's just trying to sort themselves out. Just a reminder again, take part in RaceRoom competition, download the game on Steam and have yourself a go. Plenty going on in RaceRoom at all times, and of course if you fancy it, give us a subscribe on YouTube, keep up to date with all RaceRoom content, and go and follow us on Facebook and Twitter as well, because you can get up to date with all the content. In fact, actually on Twitter at the moment, it's actually a good point on the VIP race front. For tomorrow's race, all of the drivers are being announced bit by bit over there on Twitter, so definitely go and check that one out. Excellent use of social media, I might say. Doing a good job announcing the drivers as they come through, and keeps you up to date with everything of what is going on. Surely it is going to be a great race. There's 2 races going on tomorrow indeed. There's actually a 4-lap race and then a 7-lap race. Nevertheless, at the moment, the racing that we've had to focus on, of course, Gogo Bowdy, victor in that first race and currently leading the way. Done a great job. We know how strong Gogo Bowdy is at the moment in RaceRoom. Of course, the online champion of the WTCR Esports Championship last year. Didn't quite fulfill the feat in Malaysia, but still shown some incredible form. Has struggled a little bit in the previous 3 qualifiers, not necessarily through his own fortune. Obviously, in the first round, himself and Haniowski came together in that first race, Nordschleiben, and I think really put him on the back foot. Same with Emery Chihan, who was second. There was contact between himself, I can't remember who it was with, on the first lap, the opening lap even of that race. Nordschleiben, again, I think it just put him on the back foot, maybe hit his confidence a little bit, struggled to get it back, came here top qualifier, top dog into the Sachsenring, and thus far has shown himself as a decent contender at the top end of the field. Of course, we may be 4 qualifiers into this game, but realistically the quality of field is still strong. Those drivers are qualified, the likes of Kuba Brzezinski, Nikodem Wisniewski, Jack Keithley, and that obviously Moritz Lehner, the other Williams Esports driver. Might as well just list those off. Why not? Tick them off. Tim Yarshall as well. Haniowski, like we said, qualified. So many drivers, so many quality drivers have qualified. A few surprises in there, of course, like Jesper Eriksson and that lot. But nevertheless, here we still have a strong field. Very strong indeed. Tim Heinemann. I think Mark Gassner is a strong driver, just maybe a little bit too controversial in that race with some of his moves. To take a little bit of a look, questionable in some. Hopefully, with a little bit more of a break between the 2 races, might take a little bit more patience. This is our punishment for trying to start early and having the qualifying session a touch early. I think we've just gone through a bit of as ever, he starts to try and get us into action. Of course, we'll bring you coverage as soon as we can. We are not currently ready to go for qualifying, but we will get to that shortly. Don't you worry. Of course, the racing will be intense. A bit of a reminder as to what happened in that race. Gergo Baldi came out on top. Tim Heinemann had the pole position, but decided to go to the halfway point of the race, which wasn't the favourable strategy. We saw the likes of pretty much anyone who finished higher up the order pit within that first half of the race. They can pit between the 30th and 10th minute in that middle half, and those that pit earlier in that seem to come out on top. Use those fresher tyres to good effect. You would suspect that the likes of those that were pitting towards the halfway point would have come back later in the race. Unfortunately, that was not the case. Tim Heinemann really didn't come on strong, maybe in the way that myself, I don't know about Rob either, but I thought he was going to come on a bit stronger there. Did not. Bit of a shock, but I'm sure he'll learn from that in this race and maybe come back even stronger. Only time will tell, and well, the other thing that will tell is another race. You can see that we are in game, and I think, Rob, we might almost be good to go. Maybe. Probably not.
Hello again. Yes, we are just trying to get everyone back into the game here. Give them a little bit of time because there was some problems. The whole game being completely, struggling to keep up with the amount of demand at the moment with the free weekend going on. And of course, at the same time, internet becoming a very sparse resource. And that together led to a small problem that all of the drivers left the game. So we've given them a little bit more time to restart the game. It should work now. We've got the first drivers on the server. And so we're running a little bit behind schedule, but hopefully it won't take too long until everyone is back here, until we can race.
Well, good things come to those who wait, and all that jazz. I'm sure we're up for a good race. Don't worry, and I'm sure some of the drivers are as well. It's just one of those joys that we get in sim racing every now and then that just puts us back a peg. There you can see the points finishes from the last race confirmation. Gergo Baldi Victor, Emery Chihan behind, Adam Pinchez did a very good job as well. Did Christopher Hogler for Virtual Drivers by TX3, and Tim Heinemann for Turn 1. Solid round for that top 5 thus far, but a lot of work to be done. I think Tim Heinemann needs to get a really good result. I think he needs a podium on the board at the moment to secure his way. I think the lowest amount of points scored to get through was 20 by Moritz Lerner at Zandvoort. I think that was the lowest points to actually sneak your way in.
And the interesting story there was that not Adam Pinches, of course, Emery Chihan also had 20 points, but he lost due to the tiebreaker.
Yeah, reminder as to how that tiebreaker works. It goes back to your position finished in the second race. So the tiebreaker is this race. It makes it so much more crucial. If, say, for example, you're Adam Pinchez and you finished third in this race and then you finished sixth, and then Igor Ogoroknikov finishes sixth in the first race, then finishes third. Ogoroknikov is the one with the position in that final because he finished third. He finished in a higher position in that second race. Yeah, of course, a bit of a reminder that all these are very much, look at the word underneath Shootout where it says provisional, very provisional. It must be said. That said, I think those in the top 5 had some pretty clean races. They did very well. Tim Heinemann dropped down the order a little bit, but nevertheless managed to sneak himself up into the top 5. Maybe a little bit of a false strategy on the German side.
Yeah, we will see if that really was the wrong strategy in the end from Tim Heinemann, as we're having more problems here with the drivers leaving the server once again. Just trying to sort that out quickly. Lewis, I will just leave you to it for another 2 minutes
worries.
before we will
Spinning
come
away.
back.
Of course, sim racing, what would it be without issues? In the sense of, if you imagine in a wet race, a wet session where you get a massively long red flag, even though you don't need it because you've got wet tyres that should theoretically run in that scenario, but you want to push it as far as you possibly can, and then it becomes intermediate weathers when you start the race. Yeah, blah blah blah. Well, I'll not knock too many doors on on that front. Nevertheless, the point is that we don't have that in sim racing. You know, why would we? We wouldn't have rain that we wouldn't be able to run on. But what we do have is we do have our own technical issues that sometimes delay things. That's unfortunately the case that we're currently in. Of course, the same in the sense of disconnections as a caveat to mechanical failures. They're our version of them. All we need to do is keep focused. Some drivers actually thrive on this. And I don't mean like they enjoy the scenario of waiting around for a race to start, but I mean some drivers take the scenario and then they get into the race. They think, oh my goodness, I've not been racing for 20 more minutes. I need to get my laps in. And there are some drivers who just think, no, I can get in the car and I can push it to this limit, like almost on the click of a finger, on the turn of a dime. I am not one of those drivers. I will admit. I am one of the drivers more on the sense of I need to do more laps. I need to be in the right state of mind. It takes me a little while. That's why I love Super Pole sessions, qualifying sessions, but I also hate them because I'm always very bad at them, because I just can't get up to speed in a single lap shootout. Thankfully for the drivers in this, they don't have a single lap shootout. They can go as many as they want over the 15-minute qualifying session. Hopefully we get all drivers back in at the end of by the end of practice, and we can get going straight away. Of course, it's naturally one of the things, a cheeky bit of a delay. The previous 3 have run without technical issue as far as my memory goes. It was only natural that we were going to get something at some point. Don't you worry. But it is what it is. That strategy, though, I think we're going to see a lot of people, like I said towards the end of that race, we're going to see a lot of people roll into the early pit stop sequence and come in at the opening of the pit stop window, rather than trying to push it to that middle point. I just don't think it worked out for anyone in particular, anyone involved. Realistically, I mean, Tim Heinemann, don't get me wrong, he finished 5th, and to be no, he might have finished higher if he'd pitted earlier, but maybe he would have struggled with tyres towards the end. That's what we don't know. We know the BMW's favourable on its tyres and the Mercedes not quite as much, but it is what it is. Just wait and see how that strategy unfolds. It doesn't really leave too much open in strategy when everyone's decided that it's a good idea to be in a BMW. Speaking of which, there's one. A BMW floating around the circuit.
Yeah, let's just watch some BMWs for the meantime. So we're still trying to get all the drivers back here.
Once again, we are not sponsored by BMW. There's just a lot of them. It is just how it is at the moment. We've seen a few more drivers rejoin the session. Of course, we've got 4 minutes left of this practice. Hopefully we can get the grid back on and we can get underway at qualifying at the drop of the checkered flag in this practice session. And then we can see who is going to come out on top and who is going to get into that top 5 and join the 15 already qualified drivers. We'll obviously have to wait and see. There's only one way to find out, and that is to see the race itself unfold. You can only do that here on this channel, so don't forget to chuck us a cheeky subscribe. Maybe give the video a like as well. Make sure that the ADAC GT Masters know that you're all enjoying what you're seeing and what we're putting out. And make sure the drivers know as well. Of course, there's a few of them in the chat keeping an eye on things. Obviously, we saw Ben Spanky in earlier. I'm sure there's a few others that have been keeping an eye on maybe their future competitors. Ben Spanky already qualified. Was one of the ones who qualified, I think, if I recall correctly, in the first round, all the way back a month and a half ago. And what a good job that first lot did in that qualifying session. A very, very long time ago. Seeing some more BMWs float their way around the circuit. Who is this one? This is Mark Gasner, of course, one of the more controversial drivers in the previous race, but hopefully will tidy himself up for this second one. There is Eamon Murphy, a driver who could have achieved so much, unfortunately, in retirement. But I don't 100% know, so I won't be like, it was Gasner, but I think it may well have been Mark Gasner who ended Eamon Murphy's run. It was a good run as well. As we see, ignore that. I think it was Mark Gasner who ended Eamon Murphy's run. Of course, we didn't see footage of it though. Hopefully, this time a slightly less controversial race in the sense of that we want to see a nice clean finale to our qualifiers. Of course, some drivers may treat this as more of a pre-season test in the sense of getting ready for the full ADAC GT Masters Esports Championship whenever it begins. No confirmed date thus far, courtesy of basically everything in the world being cancelled. Unfortunate news, the Tuning World Burning Sea got cancelled, so unfortunately our event there also. But the way of the world will all bounce back. I'm sure we'll have more LAN events to send to you and for you to take part in.
And unfortunately, we have to cancel the rest of the event for today. So update will follow, of course, on all of the social media channels of RaceRoom and the ADAC. What will happen now, if there will be another race coming up maybe, or if the results come from the first race, all of these things will be decided and will be communicated over the channels of the ADAC and also of RaceRoom, of course. So make sure, maybe we can find a better day where we have a little bit more luck with the internet situation here.
Yeah, it's a bit of overcrowding then. Well, I mean, thank you all for joining us anyway through the first race. Definitely an interesting one. Hopefully we can bring you the effective second race at some point in the near future. Of course, don't forget to tune into tomorrow's race, the VIP one, coming on at 2:30 European time, and then, well, I mean, it's 1:30 GMT. That's the time I go with. Apologies. Until then, though, thank you very, very much for watching us. Lewis McGlade, Rob Wiesenmüller, bringing the action. We shall see you again soon, and then we can finish off this final qualifier. See you then.